Hi there, it's Sam from Versus.com. Again with another comparison video. In this one, we will take a closer look at the OnePlus 9 Pro and the Huawei Mate 40 Pro. We are comparing them in terms of display, performance, camera, design and battery. So watch until the end of this video and find out which one is in our opinion the better phone. If you'd like to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let's start straight away with our review. Let the facts speak. Performance. The 9 Pro is available in two versions, one with 8GB RAM and 128GB storage capacity, and one with 12GB RAM and a memory of 256GB. Both versions use the Qualcomm Snappdragon 888 chipset, 12GB of RAM and the latest Snapdragon. Let's see if Huawei will be able to compete. The Huawei Mate 40 Pro has 256GB internal storage capacity. It is equipped with its in-house produced high-silicon Kirin 9000 chip and has 8GB RAM. The storage capacity can be expanded with another 256GB. There's also a 128GB and a 512GB version available, but that depends on the country you are in. Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 versus Huawei's in-house chip, the Kirin 9000. Who is going to come out on top? Let's take them into the Antutu benchmark and the Geekbench 5 test and find out. The tests are divided into three phases. A performance test of the RAM, a test of how the device is handling two-dimensional graphics, and an endurance test of how the device is handling 3D graphics. The second test is from Geekbench. This app will measure the performance of our smartphones in terms of CPU and GPU. Well, no surprises here. The Snapdragon 888 is just a powerhouse. With its help, the 9 Pro is able to achieve impressive results in all test categories and beat its competitor decisively. But the fact that Huawei is still able to expand the storage capability needs to be mentioned again. But still, another point for OnePlus 9 Pro. Display. The OnePlus 9 Pro features a 6.7-inch display with a 1440p resolution. It uses an AMOLED screen with an adaptable 120Hz refresh rate and a peak brightness of 1300 nits. The phone therefore measures roughly 17 cm diagonally and has a pixel density of 525 ppi. Looks like anything you can ask for of a screen. Let's see what the Mate 40 Pro has got to offer. The Mate 40 Pro has a 6.76-inch display with a 1344p resolution. It also uses an OLED screen which creates very accurate colors. The 6.76-inch display therefore measures 17.17 cm diagonally with a pixel density of 456 ppi. The Huawei has a 90Hz refresh rate. So, as you can see, the screen of the Mate 40 Pro isn't really a competition for the OnePlus screen. Especially the lack of the 120Hz adaptive refresh rate is pretty bad. The 9 Pro also comes with better specs in every other aspect. A clear point for the OnePlus. Camera. The Mate 40 Pro uses a 3-rear camera system. An ultra-wide with 20 megapixel, a wide with 50 megapixel and a telephoto camera with 12 megapixel. You can find the ultra-wide 30 megapixel front camera in the upper left corner of the screen and a pillbox cutout right next to the 3D depth vision camera. It records 4K videos at a maximum of 60 frames. It also has image stabilization for video. Leica is known around the world for its camera systems, so that is a great partner to have. But the OnePlus 9 Pro has also a co-engineered camera system. Let's have a look. The OnePlus 9 Pro features a quad rear camera system. It consists of a 48 megapixel wide angle, a 50 megapixel ultra wide angle, an 8 megapixel telephoto and a 2 megapixel monochrome camera. Its front camera has a resolution of 16 megapixel. The 9 Pro records 8K videos at a maximum of 30 frames per second and 4K videos at a maximum of an incredible 120 frames per second. A special feature is the color calibration system by famous camera manufacturer Hasselblad. Both phones have good camera systems, but which one is actually the better system? Let's take it to our camera test and let's find out which one does a better job. As usual, let's start by comparing the pictures taken in daylight conditions. The first thing that you'll notice are the radiant colors of the 9 Pro, and it also seems sharper than the Huawei. Zoomed in, it gets obvious that the OnePlus has considerable advantages in terms of contrast, color rendering and sharpness, while also displaying more grain. Both phones show good amounts of detail. In nighttime conditions, things are very different. While not noticeable at first, the problems that the OnePlus has in lower lights are severe. Its tendency to sharpen everything as much as possible leads to a huge amount of grain that covers everything and lessens the picture quality into non-existence. Due to low contrast and detail, the results of the Mate 40 Pro can't be considered great either, but overall it's pretty decent. Both phones have a very good front camera that do a great job. Okay, so far so good. Now let's switch from photo feature to the video feature to find out which of these two phones takes better videos. What you can see and hear is the quality of OnePlus 9 Pro's video recording. We set it to the highest possible quality. Let's see what the competitor sounds and looks like. What you can see and hear is the quality of the Huawei Mate 40 Pro video recording. We set it to the highest possible quality. Let's see what the competitor sounds and looks like. In terms of sound quality, the Mate does a slightly better job. The 9 Pro is just too echoing, which can get annoying. Regarding video quality, the OnePlus is sharper than its competitor, but displays again a lot of grain. Concerning color rendering, well, both don't do a very good job. The Huawei doesn't get the white balance right, which is why the skin tone is a bit off. And the OnePlus is so incredible oversaturated that the colors all seem completely out of place. Now let's crop in a bit in post to see how that looks like. So if you set aside the color rendering problems for a moment, the 9 Pro certainly does a better job displaying more details and sharpness, whereas the Huawei begins to look more pixelated. The same goes for the 10x zoom. The main reasons for this is of course the difference in recording options of 8K on the OnePlus and only 4K on the Huawei. When it comes to slow motion videos, the OnePlus 9 Pro is able to produce 240 frames per second in Full HD and 480 frames per second in 720p, while the Mate 40 Pro is capable of 480 frames per second in Full HD and up to 3840 frames per second in 720p. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. The OnePlus's clear strength is the daylight photography, where it does a lot better than Huawei. The Mate 40 Pro on the other hand has better nighttime pictures, small advantages in terms of the front camera and sound quality, and overall the more pleasing video quality. Even though it lacks the sharpness of the 8K video recording capabilities of the OnePlus, the saturation problems of the 9 Pro are definitely worse than the small white balance failure of the Huawei. This point goes to the Mate 40 Pro. Design. The OnePlus 9 Pro features a semi-matte glass backside and a shiny aluminum frame. It is available in 3 different color variants: Morning Mist, Stellar Black and the one that we tested, Pine Green. The quad rear camera bump is situated in the upper left corner on the back of the phone and stands out from the minimalistic design of the rest of the backside. The smartphone weighs 197 grams, it has a USB-C connector at the bottom and of course it got an IP68 rating and is therefore dust and water resistant. It has an optical fingerprint sensor tucked into the display and also features face recognition technology to unlock the phone. Man, the pine green is such a nice color. Next up, the Mate 40 Pro. The Huawei Mate 40 Pro has a clean design with a matte finish. The 3-camera system is well positioned in a ring on the upper center on the back of the phone. Like most phones, the camera bump is pretty big, but since it is more centered, it tends to wobble less when it lays on a flat surface. The smartphone weighs 212 grams, it is roughly 16.29 cm long, 7.55 cm wide and 0.91 cm deep. It has a USB-C connector and thanks to an IP68 rating, it is water and dust resistant. The Mate 40 Pro uses a fingerprint scanner which is built into the screen and face recognition technology to unlock the phone. Both technologies were great. OnePlus moved their rear camera bump from the middle to the upper left corner and went with a very traditional approach. Huawei's design called the Space Ring camera, which is certainly a different approach. If you ask which one we prefer, well, we actually like both. Huawei is more of an eye-catcher, while the 9 Pro tries to be more minimalistic. The OnePlus in general has a very well-rounded design. On the other hand, we would change a thing or two about the Mate 40 Pro. Like the thick black bars around the screen and the big camera notch. Smells like a point for OnePlus, you're saying? Well, normally we would agree. But design is not solely about looks, but also about security. And sadly, the OnePlus failed our simple water resistance test. In short, water got into the camera lens, which made the rear camera unusable. This was extremely disappointing since the phone is marketed as IP68 water and dust resistant. So in the end we had no other choice but to give the point to the Mate 40 Pro. Battery. The OnePlus 9 Pro when fully charged has 4500 mAh and the Mate 40 Pro has 4400 mAh. With 65 watt on the OnePlus and 66 watt on the Huawei, both phones offer very similar fast charging capabilities. Same goes for wireless charging, where both offer an impressive 50 watt. They also both feature reverse wireless charging. Since the charging capabilities are pretty much equally good, this category should be decided slowly through the endurance test. Let's bring them to our day-to-day usage test and see who can last longer. So, in our test, the Mate 40 Pro was able to outlast the OnePlus by quite a bit. And since, like already mentioned, both phones have equally great charging capabilities, the point clearly goes to the Mate 40 Pro. Keep in mind though that Huawei had plenty of time to increase the battery lifespan through software updates, since the phone's release at the end of last year. So, we might see an endurance increase on the OnePlus side in the future as well. Conclusion. So, we first compared the different displays and the OnePlus clearly has the better one of the two. 1 point for the 9 Pro. In terms of performance, it was again the OnePlus that was able to outshine its competitor, taking home another point. In the third category, the camera system got a closer inspection, and in the end it was the Huawei that came out on top, taking home its first point. Regarding design, it was a close race, as we liked the look on both, with slight advantages to the OnePlus. But the 9 Pro also had issues with the water resistance, which unfortunately let it lose this point. In the last category we tested the endurance and charging capabilities of both phones, and it was again the Huawei who defeated its competitor. This leads to a final score of 3 points for the Mate 40 Pro and 2 points for the 9 Pro. So the deserved winner of this comparison is the Huawei Mate 40 Pro. Naturally, we review more than these 5 categories covered here. If you want to see the full comparison, follow the link to our website. You can compare up to 7 different smartphones at versus.com. But before you do that, please post your comments and let us know which phone you think ranks first. If you liked our video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Till then, take care and see you soon.